Hello, and welcome to Shrink, the podcast for the mind. I'm Philippe, and I talk to the people who want to have a better understanding of their issues with weight and body image. Hi, it's been almost a year. In 2 weeks, it will be a year since I recorded my first podcast episode. And when I started, I wasn't really sure where I was heading to. And now with time, a year later, it makes more sense and it's doing really well. So I really want to thank you again for, because I did thank you before, I think, for listening to my podcast, for giving me sometimes some advice and also your critics or your congratulations, which is even nicer to hear. But thank you. Despite my strong accent and my pronunciation, it seems like more of you are listening to it every time. And it's a nice feeling. I'm really glad I can help more and more people. I think what I say makes sense. I can be wrong sometimes, and I'm not the only one saying these things, but it makes a difference in this world where dieters seem to rule the world. Some voices, like mine and many others, can make a difference so that you can be more mindful, more intuitive, listen to your sensations, to your emotions, and start another journey to feel better about yourself. Today I'm going to speak about eating slower. And it's a big subject. I mean, big. It's an important one. I've been doing this job for more than 20 years now. I don't think I ever met anyone who was a slow eater and who had weight issues. I think the pace at which we eat makes a massive difference. So I'm going to give you a few tips. And I know that tips don't work straight away. I mean, we're talking about a behavior that many of you have been having for years and years. So it's not going to change straight away. So I would encourage you to re-listen or to write them down so that you can get back to it. And you may feel some kind of frustration along the way because it's not easy to change. So before you start eating, you should take a few deep breaths. Make sure you're breathing properly. In fact, when we eat quickly, we tend to have shorter breaths because we swallow, we put food in our mouth, we swallow it, and altogether it has been a big influence on our breaths. So I really encourage you to connect to your breath and make sure you're breathing in a proper way. And then ask yourself, how am I feeling? Am I feeling tired? Am I feeling angry, frustrated? Am I scared? Am I sad? I'm asking you to connect to your emotions, not to suppress them, of course, but to be able for a bit of time to put them aside so that you can check your hunger properly. Because otherwise, if you're feeling, if one of these emotions is stronger than the others and is taking a lot of room, you're more likely not to be connected to your body sensations. Then look at your foods. Does it look good? Is it really what I want to eat? Am I eating this because that's the only food I had, in fact? I wasn't organized well enough, so I want to make sure next time I'll be better organized so that I've got more choice, let's say. Look around you as well. Look at the room that you're in. If you're at your place or if you're in a restaurant or a cafe, connect with the room, with the environment around you. Look at the people around you, the people that you're eating with eventually. How do you feel being with them? Are you happy to be with them, or are you with them just because they're your work colleagues and you eat with them every day, or it's your family, but in fact you would rather eat by yourself. Just to be aware of how you're feeling about the place, the people around you, and the choice of food that you've made. And then ask yourself, how hungry am I? Am I a bit hungry? I don't know if I'm hungry. If you don't know, it means you're not hungry, in fact. And that comes as a surprise for many of my clients, because I work with what I call the food and emotions diary that they feel before and after every meal. And it's not unusual for some of them to notice, in fact, that they're about to eat, but they're not hungry. And they eat because it's lunchtime, or they eat because somebody prepared food for them, or because they just think, oh, I didn't eat for 4 or 5 hours, I should eat something now. But in fact, they're not hungry. So I would encourage them not to eat, or maybe have just a tiny thing to eat, because it's a shame to put food into your body if you're not hungry. Your body is a very, very precise piece of engineering. I'm not sure about this expression, but it tells you so many things, you know. Am I comfortable? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? That's another thing. Make sure you're not thirsty. Many of us, I don't have the numbers for that, but I have the feeling that many of us don't drink enough. So before you start eating, ask yourself if you're thirsty or not. And if you are, have some water, a bit of water or a glass of water, so that you don't eat to mask or to not to feel that sensation of thirst, which is not a nice one. Make sure you're comfortably seated. If you're not in a good position, or if you're not in the best place in that room or in that cafe, or if you don't feel comfortable, you're more likely to eat quicker, because you don't want that meal to last. I mean, nobody wants to stay in a position or in a place which is not comfortable. So ask yourself, should I sit more? Should I be more straight? As I'm saying this, I realize I'm not sitting straight, and it feels so good to stretch a bit. Or should I move to another table or another chair in my kitchen, whatever? But just connect with that as well. Don't put a lot of food on your plate. It's better to eventually have a second serving, as it will enable you to check if you're still hungry. So just start with a smallish portion. And if you're having crisps, for example, or nuts, put some of them in a bowl. Don't eat them directly from the bag, because it's too tempting to keep on eating without even noticing. And within a minute or a few minutes, let's say, you will have eaten the whole bag. Whilst if you put them in a bowl, at some point this bowl will be empty, and you can ask yourself, oh, do I want to get some more? No, I've had enough, in fact. That I enjoyed it. I've had enough. Your mouthfuls should be small. Don't put too much food on your fork, or let's say if you're eating a sandwich, don't have a bite which is too big. Try and have smaller mouthfuls. And if you're having crisps, for example, try and eat them one at a time. I know it's not easy, and I know it's nice sometimes to have this feeling of having more crisps at the same time in your mouth, or more nuts, but it does make a big difference. You're more likely to stop, to feel like, well, I've had enough, if you're only putting one at a time in your mouth. You should chew your food for longer. Don't swallow it too quickly. That's difficult. I find it difficult myself, because when you keep on chewing the food, in fact, the taste of the food changes. So I'm not saying you should chew every mouthful for 3 minutes. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that anyway. But just a bit longer. And make sure you connect with the taste of that food, and the texture, the smell of it. It's important as well. It's part of I really believe that all these things are part of the society, in fact. Put your cutlery down after every mouthful. It will help you to regulate your pace. And the same goes for your drink. Don't keep your glass of wine or beer in your hand. Put it back on the table. If you keep it in your hand, there's a big chance that you will keep on drinking without even noticing it properly. And then your glass will be empty and you will go for another one. So the same goes with your food. Small mouthful, and after every mouthful, you put your cutlery down. I know it's not easy. I'm not going to pretend it's easy if you've been eating in a different way for so many years, like I did for 38 years before I lost the weight that I wanted to lose, that I needed to lose. I wasn't doing all these things. And when I started changing my habits, it was really difficult. But it all makes sense, and you will find your way. Take it as a journey. I mean, this word journey is it's like you hear it all the time nowadays, but it is a journey. And at first, you need some kind of rules to remember and to apply, but then it becomes intuitive. It becomes natural. It becomes your own way of eating. So when you're done with, let's say, half of your serving, or when you're done with your starter, if you're having a starter and a main, take another few breaths. And again, check your hunger. Am I still hungry? No, in fact, I've had enough. I'm not hungry anymore, but I'm not going to throw this food away. I mean, some people are dying in some places of the world, and it's a waste to not to eat it. Well, it's not. I think if you keep on eating when you're not hungry anymore, you're treating your body as a bin. It doesn't help the people who don't have enough food, and it's terrible. And it's a shame, and everybody should have enough to eat all over the world, of course. But you finishing your plate doesn't help in any way. Your body is not a bin. And that's what bins are for, things we don't need anymore. Or you can put it in the fridge if it's something that you can keep. Or, I'm not saying that you should throw away food. Maybe help yourself smaller portions in the future and have the right containers to put your food in the fridge. But don't finish your plate just because it's there, or just because you're going to save the world, because you're not. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. I quite often hear that it's better not to watch TV, for example, whilst eating. And even if it makes sense, not to get distracted and be more focused on your sensations. And if you're one of those people like me who get bored when I'm by myself and I'm sitting at the table, not doing anything but focusing on the food, I could be more tempted to eat quickly because I want to end this. It's like it's not fun. I'm here at the table, even if I like the food. So, okay, let's get rid of this and let's eat quickly, and so that I can get back to what I was doing. I don't know, watching television or working or chatting with someone. So I think ideally we shouldn't do that. But if it makes you feeling too lonely, or if you find it too boring, it's not going to help. Only focusing on your food and your hunger. You're not a monk. I'm not a monk. So we live in a world where there is a lot of distraction. Still, despite all this distraction, make sure you connect sometimes to the sensations which I've mentioned before. These tips are easy to apply at first. But then, so you maybe will stick to them for a meal or two a day, maybe a week. But then it's so tempting to get back to the way of eating we've had for so long. Sometimes when we're eating with others, we will find out that we're not focused on ourselves anymore, and we're more aware of, we want to manage the conversation, or so we're not properly there. I mean, it's a journey. It takes time. And so don't be too hard on yourself. But it's the way to go. I'm so convinced it's the way to go. Eating slower being more connected to your sensations. I'm sorry if I repeat myself a lot in this recording, but I've seen it with so many people. I've seen the difference that it makes. I hope this will help you.